Increasing international fuel prices and the weak rand are some of the reasons that fuel prices have shot up in September. Road freight transporters mainly rely on diesel to fuel their fleet, which means this makes up a bulk of their cost. Chief Executive Officer at NM Logistics, Njabulo Ngcobo, says the period between October and December is the industry's peak season, which means that volumes increase during that time.
Fuel is about 70% of our cost base, so it's a big chunk of our cost base. So fuel increasing means almost our whole cost base basically goes up. So essentially, if we're doing liters wise, we do about 200,000 liters of fuel per month. In rand figures, that goes into the millions. So we'll basically be gearing up for an increase in costs in the hundreds of thousands. And obviously, that has to be some clients or you're able to negotiate kind of that increase. So how we typically work is when you negotiate the rate, portion of the rate has to be adjusted with the fuel movement. So this increase of fuel means a portion of our rate will increase at exact same proportion of the fuel increase.
The Trucking Association of South Africa agrees that constant increases are detrimental to the industry.
Only on the 4th of August we had an increase, which also had a huge impact on the trucking industry. And now we have another one. For example, on average, a truck from Middelburg to Richards Bay Coal Terminal, you're using anything between 157,000 Rand of diesel a month. With the 2 rand increase, it means that you now have to have an extra 14,000 Rand for each truck. This means that the current rate that we have has not changed.
As it is, the impact of the weak economy is weighing heavily on most businesses, particularly the small and medium ones. Some, like NM Logistics, are only recovering from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Ngcobo says cost pressures can mean closed doors for businesses.
So for us smaller businesses, it is harder to negotiate. And for even smaller players, it could mean, like you're saying, end of business, because the client wouldn't be willing to negotiate high increases in rates when everyone else is kind of going the other way. So it's very tough for small businesses. And I mean, the suppliers, so the diesel suppliers are also businesses at the end of the day. They're not looking to negotiate because I mean, things like payment terms come into play. If we can extend payment terms for maybe another 30 days or other ways of kind of saving cash flow, that could assist businesses, but you don't get that when you're a small business. So it's going to be very tough for the small businesses.
One of our members is unable to take on a new route because it is no longer feasible. With the current increase, you're one break away from not being able to pay salaries. You're one breakdown from missing a load, and missing a load, you're not going to be able to afford to maintain that truck. Then you have a truck that is not maintained on the road because you're unable to pay basic maintenance costs. So the effects are very harsh on the industry, and very few people, very few transporters are going to continue. Very few transporters will be able to maintain a business.
If the diesel price continues to increase, this will no doubt begin to impact on the price of goods that are transported by road. And ultimately, it is the consumer that will pay more. Diabo Seto, SABC News, Johannesburg.